So I brought you here to make sure you were keeping up on your Terrence Howard math.
Hold on.
Have you been doing that?
I've seen a little bit. Let me. I'm gonna pour a glass of wine for that because I didn't watch it all. But give me 1 second.
You don't need to watch it all.
Okay. So yeah. Cheers to Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard showing us the way.
So I saw the his. I didn't watch the whole thing. I've seen some clips of his Joe Rogan thing, and I didn't know Terrence Howard was rolling like this. And then I saw some of the backlash because he called out Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Neil deGrasse Tyson had to do his polite little smackdown on Terrence Howard.
But the diss tracks on these rap battles are getting wild, man.
Dude, is it? I mean, yeah, the beef is just getting beefier, but day by day.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand who he is peak this wellness / pseudoscience. You can be a pseudo anything these days, and who's gonna contest you? And the internet, if anything, just emboldens you. You'd think there would be just this severe logical backlash, but everyone just loves it. They lap it up and they're oh my god, this guy really is just he's talking some real shit, because nobody wants to deal with hard numbers. Everyone wants to fucking live in squishy headspace where 2 + 2 doesn't have to equal 4 if it if I don't feel like it, And so,
oh god, okay.
I don't know how much of the Neil deGrasse Tyson stuff you saw with him sort of.
I saw all of it.
Oh, you watched it?
Well, hold on. What do you mean? What Terrence said about Neil, or what Neil said about Terrence?
What Neil responded, because the whole thing, was Terrence basically kind of calling him out. I sent this whole paper to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he's a little bitch, and he couldn't even fucking deal with how awesome my brain is and stuff. And I mean, literally, I'm paraphrasing through the internet. I didn't even see the clips of what either of them said besides the Neil deGrasse Tyson breakdown. And I didn't watch that whole thing, but it was just funny that he was sitting there kind of going well, here's what he sent me. And I was politely responded that basically his entire supposition, his entire argument was based on this first and very wrong thing, which was the cornerstone of his entire argument. And it's just fundamentally incorrect. And so when your entire thesis is built around just basically incorrect math at the start, it doesn't matter how far you go. But it sounds like he has a crazy brain in terms of just how he's connecting things. And Neil deGrasse was look, I kind of respect your brain and how weird it is. he said more nice. It's I appreciate your active mind or whatever, but it's basically just talking nonsense out your ass,
No, Neil did the scientific equivalent of bless your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. So first off, before we get too deep in this, for those who don't know what Terrence Howard is doing, let me just do a quick breakdown, right?
Sure, yeah.
So this came across my plate probably, I want to say last Christmas, if not the Christmas before then. I can't really remember which one it was.
Oh, was he already popping off some weird shit back then?
Oh yeah. So this whole Terrence Howard thing, he's been working on this math for I want to say at least 10 years.
Oh wow. I mean, good for him, I guess. That's kind of cool, but.
I guess, but it's also damn, bro, you went 10 years on this, and you so anyway, and he's been going on, he's been doing talks. The first time I saw it, he was doing a talk at Oxford, right? He's in a room full of scholars, mathematicians, math undergrads. And he's explaining to them what's wrong with 1 × 1 equaling 1, right? Mm-hmm. Now, they're giving him attention, but you can tell they're trying their hardest not to just laugh this guy out of the room, right? Because because from what I could tell, because I only watched maybe 20 minutes of like his rant, maybe more, but anyway, because he goes into multiplication and he goes into like these art things he's been making based off this new math that he thinks he's created. So anyway, before we get to that, so his whole contention, from what I understand, is that he simply doesn't understand the word multiply. He doesn't understand the terminology. He doesn't understand it in a math sense, like in a practical, like, he doesn't understand it in a math sense. He doesn't understand it in a colloquial sense, right? So his argument is, the Bible says, go forth and multiply.
Oh my God. He brought in the Bible to like make his scientific.
Yeah. Well, it was just an example, like, because the colloquial use of the term multiply is to go out and to increase in numbers, right? Sure.
Yeah.
Which is a use of the term, no doubt. Okay. However, he's trying to apply that definition of multiply to math. Now, in math, multiplication doesn't mean to add. We have or to increase. We have addition. A term for increasing, which is addition.
Right.
Right. Multiplication is a numerical way of organizing numbers.
It's a function.
And to describe groups of numbers. So when you're saying 1 times 1, you're saying you have one group of one thing, which means you have that one thing. It has nothing to do with adding. It can add, but that's not what it is.
Yeah.
So his whole contention is based on the fact that he doesn't understand the difference between math multiplication and the colloquial use of the term to multiply.
That's amazing. I love that's the starting place and that the Bible's involved.
That's the starting place.
I just think that's awesome.
So it's absurd. So he goes into this thing. It's like, well, if you can't multiply 1 times 1 because that's more than 1, at least equals 2. So he has this whole thing in which he's like looking at the fabric of space and time, and he's like Fibonacci sequences and all sorts of shit. The golden ratio. He's just like all this stuff. He's like cobbled together to make this new math, and it's nonsense. It's just nonsense. So it's blowing up now, obviously because of Joe Rogan. As usual, Joe's going to put someone on his podcast and blow them up. So now we're over here trying to figure out whose math is correct. Terrence Howard's or Newton's.
Dude, I love that we can do that. We can, oh man, it's such a privileged place to operate from, and just to be able to go down this insane, cause that's where it is right now. You can literally just take something that's inherently wrong or misunderstood and say but it feels this way to me. And then literally create an entire universe around that. And usually people just do this with narratives in the world and take things to their most extreme, most ridiculous conclusion, with these conspiracies and things, and just be because these two things are factual in my narrative, then all of everything I just said is 100% true. But Terrence Howard was I'm going to be a conspiracy theorist, but just do math. I'm going to do it with math. And it's just and I'm going to learn a bunch about stuff. But literally it's building your foundation of your entire building, out of, I don't know, sand or something, or it's so ridiculous. And just to keep building, you're trying to build this tower to the moon, but you just didn't pour concrete, and you've learned about finishing a house before you've learned about what it makes, how it stands for hundreds of years or whatever. And there's just so much of that thinking, and it's amazing. And what was he talking? Neil deGrasse was talking about the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it's everywhere, man. Everyone's living in that valley of just
that defines our era right now. It's Dunning-Kruger.
Yeah, it's really what it should just be This is the Dunning-Kruger era of humanity, and you can just literally say anything with enough assertion and people will just be well, I don't know enough about it to argue. And he sounded smart and he had some authority in his voice. He sounded very sure of himself. And I don't trust anything.
I can empathize with. Yeah, I don't trust anything, but I can empathize with that. But the thing is, the people that do it, it's like you can spend 5 minutes doing your own research about a thing you have zero prior knowledge of. You barely passed math in high school. You barely passed science in high school. Yeah, you've done 5 minutes on Google, got your Google PhD, and now you feel yourself able to contend with some of the most like learned individuals in human history.
Yeah, but I wanted to go back. Dude, I love that it's Terrence Howard that is like, of all people, Terrence Howard is so like he's such a bizarre figure, you know, and he's like this like gentle spoken sort of like he looks like a wizard, you know, like he looks like he is like a modern wizard, you know, like he's got those crazy eyes and just like his look and the way he talks, it's very it's not mischievous, but it's like
there's something behind it though that's kind of mischievous, right?
Yeah, like it's a little bit because he's so unique looking, you know, like the light skin with the like super light eyes and just like it's very distinct, and it's just like it's strange that we're in a place that we're like, let's entertain, let's see where this goes, you know, instead of people being like, yo, Terrence, shut the fuck up. Like you're, you don't know what you're talking about. People are like, that's interesting because he's Terrence Howard and just like the actor, which it's like, I don't know, man. I just
well, the spectacle is super interesting because it's an actor who's, again, we love a train wreck. So the same thing we did with Kanye, we're gonna do the Terrence Howards. It's like, yeah, you're falling off the rails. Okay, cool. Let's see where this goes and see how your cars land. He's got that look, huh?
He's not like, is he spouting off on any other shit, or is it just like his whole thesis?
His whole thing is like math. Like he thinks he's nailing something right now that the math community hasn't understood for, you know, since math was invented in like Arab countries, right?
So
like he is on it, right? So he's on this crusade basically to like prove that everything's wrong, because in his mind, if we get this math right, like everything else as far as like space, intergalactic travel, maybe time travel, like all these things come into place, like the origins of the universe. He's got this thing like locked down.
That's amazing. I love that for him, honestly. I really do. Like, it's a beautiful thing.
But I see what you're saying, though. He's definitely got that something with his demeanor. He's very, you know, he's a guy that went from, you know, he was War Machine, right? In Iron Man, he was Lucius Lyon from Empire, right?
Yeah.
And like, he's fucking, I think DJ and Hustle and Flow, right?
Yeah, he's got like a wide range of like acting credits, and he is like one of these guys when he's on film. You just say he's like mesmerizing, you know. It's like, oh, this guy's just like wild.
I'm pretty sure he's like classically trained. Like he went to like a Juilliard or something. Like he's like, you know, like theater ready, actor.
But it's like, it's a weird Riz, you know? He's got a very weird Riz, and that's what it is. But it is Riz. It's like Riz to the max. It's almost like to an 11 because it's like enigmatic Riz where you're just like, I don't understand. This guy's like too bizarre. Like he's coming from another dimension, and my brain can't really like. So when he starts spouting off a bunch of shit, I'm sure everybody that just like, because most of that shit, most people don't really, they're not that educated on. So he's going to sound fucking like insanely smart because he knows enough about it that most people are just going to like,
just because of the way he speaks.
Yeah. And just like he is, it's the thing. It's like you're being educated. It's the Dunning-Kruger thing where you're like educated enough about a thing, but not enough to know how like uneducated you are, you know? And he's min-maxing his Dunning-Kruger, you know? So like it's just impressive.
To bring it into gamer terms.
It's amazing. Like, honestly, I got to look into it more. I have such a low threshold for like, honestly, like a lot of the crazy shit these days. Like I just can't. I'm just so burnt out. And then like like I said, I'm seeing crazy people all day in Venice, and I'm just like I want something normal. Like, please, somebody.
Yeah.
Put something normal.
We don't live in those times anymore, man.